Hey everyone, I am going to rank everything I read in January, February and March. But first I'll just do some channel updates and stats. At the time of recording this video, the channel has 712 subscribers and 2,183 public watch hours. So you need 4,000 watch hours and 1,000 subscribers before you can make any money on YouTube. So it's just a nice goal to have. I'd like to get to at least 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Hopefully that looks like it's on target. And some stats on how many pages I read. So I said in a previous video that I generally seem to read about 2,600 pages in 3 months. This 3 months I've managed to do 3,000 pages, so that's quite nice. In fact, one of those books actually, in some editions, it's split up into 3 books, which makes it about 400 pages more. So really, I've kind of read 3,400 pages. And there is a technical book in here as well, which I've been reading over the last 6 months, which I probably read about another 300 pages of that, which I'm not including in that. So kind of 3,700 pages if I'm being generous to myself, which I'm pretty happy with. Now, just another quick channel update. I'm going to change my approach a bit. This video is just going to be ranking these books that I've read in the last 3 months without extensive reviews. I'm going to do separate videos for reviewing each book, no matter how short they are, just to make it easier for people who are doing a search on YouTube and they search for a specific title and hopefully one of mine will come up. So, on to the reviews. No, on to the ranking. So, on to the rankings, and these are my Goodreads rankings, i.e. out of a scale of 1 to 5. There are only 2 books that I gave 3 to, so most things I gave 4, I got a couple of 5s in there, so you have to wait to the end to see those. The first book I gave 3 stars to was An Abundance of Catherines by John Green. This is basically about a road trip of a couple of guys that have just kind of finished school. It was a fine book. A 3-star for me is fine. I enjoyed it. I have no desire to read it again. I have read A Fault in Our Stars, which I really enjoyed. I gave that 5 stars. But this one, I just thought that the ending seemed a bit abrupt. So check out my full review later. Next book I gave 3 stars to was Quicksilver by Neal Stephenson. Now, I love Neal Stephenson. I have read quite a lot of his books. Anathem is amazing. This one, unfortunately, a lot of great stuff in it. It's a historical novel kind of set around the time of Newton and involves these kind of characters, but there just wasn't a plot. It was a whole bunch of great stuff kind of mashed together, but ultimately the lack of a strong plot made this it wasn't necessarily a chore to read, but it did feel long. It's 900 pages. This is the book that in some editions, it's split up into 3 separate books, so that's about 1,400 pages versus this is the 900-page version. And that's a long book when there's not much of a plot. I'm not disappointed I read it. I would like to still continue with the next 2. They get higher ratings on Goodreads. Yeah, 3 stars for Neal Stephenson. Okay, on to the 4-star books, and most of these are pretty closely ranked, really. It's a bit hard to decide which ones go where. Anyway, got to choose something. The first one is A Pocketful of Happiness by Richard E. Grant. Now, this is an actor who, he's such a recognizable face to me, but I don't feel like I know him from any major roles. He's kind of got bit parts, like he was in one of the latest Star Wars movies. And this is a kind of autobiography. It's more about the last year of his wife's life, dealing with cancer and her eventual death. Very poignant, very funny. Great book. Really enjoyed reading this. And this was from my sister, so thank you, sis. Next 4-star was Asterix and the Great Fight. Humorous as always. Not quite a 5-star. The last one was Asterix and Cleopatra, which was absolutely a 5-star. This one was great. It was 4 stars. Definitely worthy. If you like Terry Pratchett, give Asterix a go. Neil Gaiman's Stardust. This is kind of a portal fantasy. It's kind of set in the 1800s. There's a fun cast of characters. It's a great story. Very light. It's only 200 pages. Gaiman's just a great storyteller. There's a few little minor things I didn't like about it, but you can watch my full review for that. On the whole, solid 4-star book. Next up is Life, the Universe, and Everything by Douglas Adams. Now, this is the third book in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series, and this is actually the first one where he wrote new material that he didn't crib from the radio play that he had done. And sometimes that can be a bit patchy. There's still fantastic stuff. On Goodreads, this kind of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy books start out with a bang with the first one, and then generally the ratings go down as you go along. I still thoroughly enjoy this. Some people think it's a bit too weak. I think because I have listened to the radio play and I have that kind of voice of the book in my head, I think I have a different experience to people that have not listened to the radio play. So this is still a definite 4-star for me. Next up is Piranesi by Susanna Clarke, and I have already published a review of this, so you can go and look at that. This is a definite 4-star for me. Interesting setting, interesting characters, some downsides which I have made a video on, but definitely still a 4-star book. This was another portal fantasy and just fantastic to read. I love exploring new worlds, so that's right up my alley. And the top tier of my 4-star rankings, just below 5-star, I couldn't quite give this 5 stars, is The Golden Compass or The Northern Lights. This is, for some reason, I've got a US edition. This is a book that has been on my shelf for quite a while. I have all 3 of them, and Ed over at Dutch Greybeard suggested I should really get onto this, so I did. This is by Philip Pullman. Philip Pullman is a great storyteller. This is a great book. Very inventive, all sorts of cool ideas in it. Just not sure about the ending. I was toying with 5 stars, 4 stars. It's, yeah, this is a hard one for me. I think I can only go with 4 stars, which is still fantastic. I just can't quite give it 5 stars. Now, what does that mean for 5 stars? Well, these are 2 books that I don't know whether viewers of this channel will be interested in, but the first one is Code Complete by Steve McConnell. Now, this is a book about coding. This is a 30-year-old book, and it is considered a classic, and there's a good reason for that, because this deals with the nitty-gritty of coding and getting down to the level of how should you best structure a loop and what are the best ways of commenting code and all this kind of stuff. But it is a fantastic book. And even though this is the first edition instead of the second edition, it's still useful because it's evergreen content. So that is a 5-star from me. And coming out on top of these 3 months is A Random Walk Down Wall Street by Burton Malkiel. Now, this is a non-fiction book, obviously, about investing, basically, and the performance of the share market. Basically, this guy believes in the efficient market hypothesis that you basically can't beat the market, and so as an investor, the best thing you can do is just invest in an index fund. And he gives all sorts of data to back this up, going back through historical information and showing how if you choose this particular strategy or that particular strategy, it may work sometimes and in other times it won't work. This is one of those books. It's classic. There's now over 2 million copies of this in print, and it's well worth a read if you are anyone who has any sort of investment or interest in the stock market. So that is my ranking, which is very awkward to hold. Which of these have you read, and what was your ranking? I'd be very interested to know. So leave a comment, and I will now put this down, and I'll see you in the next video. See ya.